Hi, Jeff.
Well, once again, hey everybody, thanks for joining us this evening. I appreciate you joining us, especially on such a pretty night out there. So we'll try to get through this material, and if you want to sit out on your porch, get you back out there. My name is Jeff Hammond. I'm a consultant working for the Nashville Department of Transportation. Hopefully everybody can see the slides there, and that's the NDOT that you see. We have Council Member Gadd with us. I see you there, Council Member. Thanks for joining us again. Anything you'd like to say as we get started here?
No, I'm just looking forward to hearing some of the recommendations and then hearing from folks that are on the call. I see some that live right there on the corner of Bowling and Richland, just making sure they have an opportunity to get feedback, and hopefully we can achieve something that everyone feels good about. But other than that, I'm here to listen and make sure folks' questions are getting heard. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate the council member support on these and all projects. You may have heard as we got started there a little voice that said this meeting is being recorded. That's because this meeting is being recorded. We like to do that in case you have a neighbor or anyone who wasn't able to join us tonight. These are logged and made available to you here within usually about a week or so after the meeting. It'll be on NDOT's website, so feel free to pull that down if you'd like to relive what is said at tonight's meeting. The only other real housekeeping thing is that you are able to unmute yourself. We like to give you that functionality there. Feel free to do that as we go through the slides. Ask any questions that you want to. We like to pretend like we're all in a big room like we used to be here together to keep it as informal as possible. Some of the material that I'm going to present tonight is a little bit of a repeat, but I don't like to do too much of that. And if you were here, I don't want to make you sit through a lot of the same information. We'll get quickly through some overview stuff and into the revised plan. This is a second meeting. If you weren't aware that there was a first meeting, I'll again try to give you enough of a background to catch you up. But this is a second meeting, and with that, we're going to show you what we've been working on, some of the changes based on the feedback that we heard at the first meeting. So that's really the intent of tonight's meeting, and then moving from that into some of the next steps, which you can expect from us moving forward. This is loosely the agenda, but again, we'll move through some of these fairly rapidly. I would point out here this QR code that you see that does take you to something that's fairly new to NDOT in the city. It's called Engage Nashville, and it's a kind of a clearinghouse platform for all projects being done by NDOT, maybe a few other departments as well. And it's a great way to log on, learn more about the project, as well as provide any really formal input that you have on the project. So feel free to check that out. Like we discussed last time, and I think more and more people are familiar with the work of the Traffic Calming program. This is kind of an application-based or as requested service of the Department of Transportation, really focused on slowing speeds down in residential areas. And we do that predominantly by putting things in the road that you either have to drive over or have to drive around. We're probably most recognized for speed cushions, and we'll look more at the plan here for Bowling Avenue with that respect tonight. We looked at some of the information or the data that helps us prioritize. You may remember we get a lot of requests for traffic calming, and this is how we narrow that field down to select projects we're actually going to work on that you see here. This just discusses the data that we look at. We do collect data on every application that comes in, and we've got north of 600 of those in our queue right now. And so this kind of gives you the breakdown. It's mostly driven by, of course, the speed of traffic that is traveling on the street, as well as the number of cars that we count there on a daily basis. And here is some of that data. We report it kind of statistically in our industry as something called the 85th percentile speed. Sort of sets a baseline for statistically how we look at speeding. What that really means is that there's 15% of the traffic on the street that's going faster than 32 miles an hour. The volume, being the number of cars every day, is almost 4,000 cars a day. That's a pretty healthy volume. It doesn't give us any pause in terms of doing our traditional traffic calming type of a program. However, we will do speed cushions and those types of devices up to 5,000 cars a day. So we're well within our thresholds there. Street width about 23 feet from curb to curb. That's down on the narrow end. I know it changes significantly, your cross section there, from when you get up to Central, north and south of Central. And so that's the narrow side of it. And then the whole project's about 4/10 of a mile long. It goes from this is just bowling on the north side of West End. So we start from West End and go north to Murphy Road. So from traffic signal to traffic signal, that's the section that we are looking at with this project. We did point out last time on this map that those colors mean something. The color there for bowling just means that we're working kind of in the public engagement process here. But the purple line I would point out on Central just means that we do have an application in for that street, and any purple line street that you see on the map here, it has not been selected for traffic calming, again, based on that data. So just be aware of that. We talked about some of the tools that we have in our toolbox that are available to us as part of this traffic calming program. We like to stress that because sometimes people engage traffic calming saying, you know, we really need a sidewalk or we really need a new stop sign and those types of things. And all those may be fine and may be fitting. This just isn't the program that does that. And we talked some about Hub Nashville. There are other ways to make those requests, but our program is limited to some certain types of deployments that we do. Speed cushions being the most popular. It's the most used. It's the most recognized, and it's the most consistent tool that we have in our toolbox. You're probably familiar with these. You've probably seen them and driven over them. They're becoming more and more common in and around Davidson County. They are made out of a very high density recycled rubber. They come out of a factory, meaning they're consistent every time. So if you've driven over these on one of our streets, there's about a 99% chance that whatever we would put on bowling, if it is a speed cushion, would feel and look identical to those. They come in with these breaks in between them. They're called cushions because they look like little individual pillows, I guess. And that break is important because it minimizes the impact of that thing on bigger wheelbase vehicles. And especially we're thinking about fire trucks, ambulances, those types of emergency responders that we want to get, make sure that they can get to where they need to be in a hurry. We do have to pay attention to how we place these. If we leave too much of a gap, however, cars will make use of that and they will drive around these. With the section that we're looking at, and I'll show you this in a minute, it is curved on both sides, so that really it takes away a lot of the opportunity to kind of avoid these. But this is generally how they look. They can come in sets of 2 or 3. We've used more than that. We won't need to on bowling. That is strictly based on the width of the street, just to make sure again that somebody can't drive around the location of the speed cushion. In your case, as I mentioned, it's about 23 feet or so. 2 cushions will cover that width just fine. So an application would look a lot like it does in that upper left-hand picture there that you see.
Lord.
One other tool that we talked about, and then I'll point out here because it's going to show up in the revised plan, is the radar feedback sign. This is something, again, you've probably encountered these where it basically does what it says. It drives, there's a little radar unit in that sign incorporated into it, and it just broadcasts your speed back to you. And a lot of times we'll use these where, we don't think a speed cushion or something would work as well. And so this can be a good complement within a traffic calming project. All right, so to get to specifically to what we had proposed in the past and what we have changed and moved towards. This slide that you're looking at is what we saw back middle of the summer when we were last with you. Again, the project, in this case, the north arrow is pointing to the right. If you are inclined to view it that way, the west end is running on the left-hand side of the page where the traffic signal is, and Murphy is on the right-hand side of the page. So as we go from west end toward Murphy, you see the stop signs there at Richland. You see another set of stop signs there at Central. And really between Central and West End, we had not proposed anything. The spacing of those intersections is pretty good from a traffic calming standpoint. If cars are coming to a stop, at both of those intersections, then coming to a stop at the signal at West End, there's not a lot of room for a set of speed cushions or any traffic calming, and the spacing really dictates that there wasn't a lot of room to pick up speed and go from there. What we heard in the meeting, however, was that there is some driver behavior at the West End signal that is undesirable, meaning people see a yellow light and they kind of step on the gas and to make that light. That's common nature. That's human nature. I guess that's pretty common. We have all done that from time to time. But we heard that, understood that, and also that comes in the limits of an established school speed limit zone. So that's not ideal. That if and when we do have students in the area walking, that type of behavior at the light is happening. So that was one of the big pieces of information that we from our desks are not aware of. And so we appreciate that being brought to our attention, and we've made some changes based on that. The other major feedback that we heard was the sets of speed cushions on the north side of Central. So again, as we're looking at this plan that we showed last time, once you leave Central and continue toward Murphy, we had proposed 2 sets of speed cushions. And we explained that we look at that based on that spacing. We like to have these close enough together that cars can't clear one set of speed cushions and then just step on the gas and fly to the next one. But or we don't like to have them so far apart that they can do that. But we also don't like to have them so close together that we recognize that you all have to live with these and drive over these, and we also don't want to push traffic to some other adjacent street. We heard that as well, and so that was another piece of information that we took away from the meeting and made some changes based on. So here's the revised plan. Here's what we have come up with. Let me again start over on the West End side, where we had not proposed anything. We still don't think it's a good idea to introduce speed cushions there. Again, the spacing is tight. The traffic control is something to be considered. And so what we have come up with, I'll show you I will show you a better detail of what we're showing here. But the little R inside of that diamond, that's a radar feedback sign, but it's a little better than that in this case because we are in a school zone. Let me go ahead and turn the page, and I will come back to this. But here is a detail of what we think can have a good impact on this issue. There is already a school speed limit sign there. It's just the sign. It's just the static plate that you see that says speed limit. It says 15 mile an hour when children are present. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there. What we are proposing to do is to make that a flashing sign, like has been installed down on the south end over by Whitland, where it is a nice standalone pedestal sign that has that same school speed limit sign, but also has flashers that will be activated when the West End Middle School zone is active. In addition to that, we would incorporate a feedback sign onto that, and so we hope by doing that, that gives kind of the indication of not only is it a school zone, but when the school zone is not flashing, that feedback sign would be active all the time. So anytime you're coming through that area, you will see your speed. Hopefully it's nice and low like you're seeing here. And for the most part, it is. We have observed the intersection. We've talked to the crossing guard there. We've done all that we can, I think, to kind of understand how that intersection works and how most drivers drive in that area. Because it sits on red a lot of the time, you've got a major traffic flow there up and down West End. Generally, speeds are not that fast as they approach. They leave the always stop at Richland and approach the intersection. But we know that when it is on green, as was pointed out, that can be fast. So we hope by doing this, that will be a good deterrence to speeding at that location. I'll just keep moving from left to right here, but if anybody has any questions with that, feel free to stop me. One of the things that was pointed out as well is that we noticed in our walkthrough here. I'm not sure what has happened with the crosswalks. It looks like paving got some of them, and then some of them are just worn away, I think. So we're going to put those back as part of this. They're also very short. The crosswalk there looks like it was about 2 or 3 feet long, and so we'll bring that back up to a standard width is usually 4 to 6 feet. So we'll put in a little bit of a beefier crosswalk back at both of those intersections, all legs of those intersections. So that will be an improvement. And then the last thing, as we go north of Central, based on some of that feedback, what we are proposing is that we have taken out one of those sets of speed cushions and gone from 2 down to 1. That still puts our spacing. If you remember last time we talked about that spacing, we'd like it to be somewhere generally in the range of 400 to 600 feet. And I think in more urban areas like we're working with here, it can be a little on the short end. In more suburban and rural areas, we're usually at least that long, sometimes a little longer than 600. If we go back and we just put one set of speed cushions kind of in the middle of that stretch between Central and Murphy before you go down the hill to the light, that still gives us a spacing of about just a little over 500 feet. We still like it. We think it'll still be effective, but at the same time, it may reduce some of the concern about kind of over cushioning
what house would that come out in front
of? That's a good question. The question was, what house is that? Give me just a second. I will pull up the specific. I do have the specific plans here. Bear with me.
Looks really close.
I want to say the address ends in an 18, and I don't.
That's what I was afraid of. In front of my house, 118, right like catty corner from Meadowbrook.
Yeah, it's.
Ooh, I don't like that at all. There's horrible traffic jams already. Far more dangerous are the trucks parking on the road. And question, the data you gave us, how many weeks was that gathered over?
It's not gathered over weeks. At best, I would say it's probably gathered over about 2 days. Usually,
last meeting you said 1 day, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah, that's why I say at best.
So is it just really 1 day of data that we've based this drastic change on?
Yeah, yes, sir. A 24-hour period. We'll collect it over maybe a little more than 24 hours, but we will use a 24-hour period of data. That's
so we don't know if it was a busy day, average day, light day, whatever. It's just a best guess.
Yeah, we can look up the date. I mean, we always do it while school is in session.
Right, but just 1 day is my point. Yeah, question: could we put this radar thing on Bowling there rather than having any speed cushions and use that to slow things down, or put it further down the middle of the block?
The speed cushion is going to have a hard time moving, and the reason is one is the spacing that I talked about. We need it to be roughly in between, but the other is just the presence of driveways and then the intersection there at Meadowbrook. There is a pretty tight window in terms of where these can go. We have some thresholds that we don't put them any closer than 15 feet from somebody's driveway. We don't want someone to have to drive over these as they go in and out of their driveway.
Oh, so it won't be within 15 feet of my driveway?
That's correct. So I'm looking at the actual plans, and so we will be putting that section. It's 32 feet south of the driveway at 118 Bowling.
Okay.
That's specifically where it will be.
And we're doing this because people are going 2 miles an hour faster than the.
I think it's signed at 25, so it's. It was
Oh,
the
is
80,
it? I hadn't seen the 25. I hadn't seen any signs.
with the 85th percentile, meaning the best we could tell you is that 15% of the traffic is going faster than 32. That's right.
Can
We don't.
I have a
can we
question.
substitute the traffic speed flashing signs rather than having the speed bump?
You certainly can. It's a possibility. I mean, there's nothing technically that would let you not do that. I think what we have seen is on longer straight stretches like this, you probably won't get as much speed reduction, but it's certainly a possibility.
So I have a question, Jeff.
Sure.
So we live at the corner of Richland and Bowling, and every day we look out and see cars that just absolutely ignore the stop sign. I mean, just go blowing through.
Who's this talking?
Mary Hans talking. So I don't know what we do about that. It's just crazy. There were some police out a couple of days ago trying to see if they could, catch some of them. But I mean, it's just amazing. They don't even tap the brake. They just blow through.
You're right.
We have that same problem at the intersection of Richland and Craighead. It's just unbelievable. I think they just take the whole neighborhood for granted.
When there is an established stop sign there, I mean, short of a circle or something like that, which becomes kind of impossible with, the median and everything that exists there, it becomes very difficult for us to have an engineering solution to that. I mean, and it's one of the reasons why stop signs are not in our program as a tool to slow traffic. That does happen sometimes.
But we see them like speed up right there to get to the west end to get through that light.
I think Mary's exactly right. And unfortunately, it was a good idea that you had to try to set, because that is a dangerous intersection, very dangerous. But all we're ending up with is something that does nothing to solve the problem that you really and we all need help with. That and trucks, like there was a Turf Masters truck today. I went to the guy and said, "Excuse me, this is dangerous. You're blocking, there's no parking, you're blocking the road. Why don't you pull in the driveway?" "Oh, if I do that, I'll block my customers." I said, "Well, do that rather than block the whole street. And of course, your company's liable if you cause a head-on accident."
Wow.
So how do we remedy the real problem?
The real problem being stop sign running.
Yes.
It sounds like.
Yeah, that's what everybody's most concerned about, not this block of bowling that you're addressing, as far as I know.
Can I ask a question? This is Helen Barber. I live at 105 Bowling Avenue. Can we move further along to where what you're planning to do from Murphy Road to Central, towards the upper part of the hill? That's really where the problem is. That's a hazard trying to get out of your driveway. I recently had a woman. There was nobody coming. She came flying over the hill. Then she got mad at me because I had already pulled out of my driveway, and she sped around me and just got so mad at me. And that's where the major problem seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where our data is, and that's what we would have expected. I mean, it's generally these longer stretches of streets. I mean, I hear you that no one stops at the stop signs. We've observed it, obviously not like you all who live there and see it every day. It's hard to catch that. It's certainly not everybody blows through the stop sign. But
excuse me, sir. It's not a stop sign. I'm talking about the section from Murphy Road before you get to Central, right in that area, much further than getting to Central. Okay. It's not a stop sign. There's no stop signs there.
I'm aware of like Meadowbrook area. So what we were proposing from Central to Murphy is a single speed cushion location, roughly halfway in between. That was the location we were talking about where we were referencing 118 bowling.
You're saying one speed bump for that whole area?
That's correct. That would be a spacing of about 500 feet from Murphy and about 500 feet from Central, which in our experiences does a pretty good job at slowing traffic over the whole section because you're coming from a stop condition on either end of that.
Yeah.
Did you see that on the screen? You're underestimating our turning coming from Murphy Road up Bowling. No one's speeding going up there. No one is speeding going the other way. I do it twice a day, every day of the year. If sometimes more than that, that's 4 trips. And you're talking about a speed bump on a spot that doesn't need it.
We've had 2 toddlers almost hit by cars.
That have 3 little kids that run up the alley, but that's not going to solve this with having this speed bump here. This isn't going to do it. What's wrong with the small rumble strips like they have on Murphy? What's wrong with painting the signs like they have on White Bridge Road down on the ground? It's going through Central stop sign. It's not affecting us. I have to pull out in the alley because the curb is 12 inches tall. Metro says, oh, it meets specifications. I have to pull out in the other side to get out of the alley. I have 2 houses, 126 and 128 both. So this is unnecessary. When I go up the street to go to work every morning, it's a slow because you don't know what happens cresting the hill. And if you're coming to the hill, you're way off base. No one speeds there. And if you're trying to get out, I'm sorry, Bowling Avenue's been that way at least the 48 years I've been here.
A lot of people have driveways in the back off the alley, so they don't have to deal with that backing out onto the street because that can be difficult.
This is Nancy Willis at 107 Bowling. I will say that I had a toddler run into the street and almost get hit by a car. 2 doors down, I saw a toddler almost hit the street before mom grabbed him. And people speeding down that area will kill a toddler. I've witnessed this twice. People from a distance can say that's not true, but it is.
I've never seen it in my 30 years. Maybe
You
parents
don't need
need
to
to keep
see it,
a closer eye on their children, actually. That seems to be the problem if your child's running into the street, not the drivers.
She gotta hear this.
I don't think, this is Helen Barber. I don't think that's really funny. The woman 2 doors down was terrified for her child. Okay. And I think that's very serious. Whether you see it or not, I didn't see it, but I do believe the woman.
I don't find it funny. I
The
think she
mother
needs to
of the
keep a
child.
closer
So
eye
I
on her
think you
child.
need to not laugh about it.
I didn't.
Somebody
Hey,
did.
this is Michael Linseth, and I'm at the corner of 3533 Richland. And I think, safety with the kids. And I think we've got Jeff, who's an expert. This is what he does for a living. I'm a commercial banker. I'm going to listen to Jeff, who is the expert on this, who does this all over town. And I think one speed bump, like, what does it hurt? Other than going over speed bump, I cut through Green Hills. I cut through Valley Brook. I cut through Bear Road. It's something to just help and slow people down. I don't see why we're arguing about it. And we vote on it. We vote. Bowling Avenue in Richland, us on the corners, we vote on it. So it's a democracy. We vote, and there we go. It's either voted up or voted down.
But
I agree
the
with him.
plan could be split. I like the idea of the flashing school zone at Richland. I don't like the speed bump, so I would vote no.
There you go. That's your right to vote no.
But I would like them to have the flashing sign. But by voting no, I'm voting against that.
Now, let me clarify that a little bit. So when we do the ballot, we'll talk about that. And this is exactly why we have the ballot. What people perceive to be a problem, some do, some don't. You've all had different experiences. That's plain to see. When we vote, if we vote it down, this plan, we don't just say, sorry, Bowling, we're not doing anything and walk away from it. We will still do what we call a plan B, which is we may go back to something lesser. We may do paint on the street. I would expect the radar sign would still be part of that. We know what you're voting down. You're voting down the speed cushions by and large or anything raised that you have to drive over and so forth. So yeah, we will still do a plan B regardless of that. And the sign would still be a part of that. Just know that.
Marty, my name is Grady, and I live at 109 Bowling. So you're voting against one speed bump on this road. How does that affect your life? Does that really make your life miserable?
Well, I figure it can cause damage to my vehicles. There's problems that I've read about in East Nashville on Haysboro where vehicles have been damaged. It slows the response time for emergency vehicles. I know Jeff said last time that the fire department is in favor of it, although someone may have told him that. I spoke with a close friend that who was a captain on the fire department. He said, we hate it. It slows our response time. It damages our equipment. So
Well,
those are some of the reasons that
I think we can ask the DOT guy about, does it damage your cars?
That's funny.
And he'll probably say no. If you're going
It's okay if you go
the
to
right
bed with me.
speed, it does
You
not
don't want to have
damage
one
your
glass
car.
of wine with me?
Is that correct? It doesn't damage your car if you're going the
Huh?
right speed. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't have evidence that says it. I'm never going to say, nothing ever
This is
happened,
so
but
funny.
we typically
Amber,
get
we
the
can't agree
feedback
on
from
anything.
people that, would have reported something like that. We don't have any information.
I just this
that
week read about people on Haysboro, Haysboro, that had complaints about several vehicles being
This thing
damaged.
fell out again today
yeah.
in my mouth. And
Um,
I scrub it and scrub it, scrub it. I put
Marty,
it in Listerine.
can we,
I'm
I think there's some folks that may be unmuted and having a side conversation, which is fine. But if you could mute, mute, that way we can make sure we hear some folks, with the conversation here. That'd be great. Thank you.
Uh,
And Ms. Hulse,
am
there you go.
am I being heard? Hi, yes. I live at 122 Bowling, and I share Marty Cooperman's opinions on the speed bumps. They're difficult when you're backing out, especially if they put it near your driveway, backing out, trying to navigate a speed bump can be difficult. And also, I think they lower property values of, when everything that they're all junking up Green
Big
Hills
screen,
with
man.
all these speed bumps. And people aren't really slowing down. They're going around them. They're going, I know we have those thick curbs, and you don't see them in extremely wealthy neighborhoods like Belmead. Our taxes are, extremely high. You're not seeing any speed bumps going in at Belmead because they have police patrolling carefully, where you're going to put a speed bump in so that police don't patrol it. And that, I think, is a problem, because then, I'm paying all this taxes. I've got an unsightly speed bump that I've got to bounce over, and it's going, very near my house. That's why I don't like it. If it was maybe, in front of the Richland house, maybe, I'm so sorry, I'm on call, it wouldn't be as bad. Excuse me, I need to take a call here, but I'll listen for your response. Yes, Caitlin, can I help you?
Yeah, appreciate that feedback.
This is Helen Barber again. I agree 100% with the gentleman on Richland who said it's one speed bump, and I'm going to defer to the experts. They've looked at this, they've done research on it, and one speed bump is not going to hurt your car. I go over speed bumps. I drive up and down Bowling every single day, and I go over speed humps in Green Hills, all other places too. And if you go the speed limit, which is 20 miles an hour, it doesn't hurt your car. And I agree with the gentleman on Richland. Let us all vote.
Are we still on here?
We're still on.
Oh, I'm still on. Sorry about that interruption. I tried to vote, and I didn't really see how to vote. I tried really hard, but I don't know. Maybe
Let me walk through that process a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that
I
okay?
clicked vote and nothing happened.
Okay. So we have not started the voting process for Bowling Avenue. Let me kind of go through the process here. We are in this pale blue circle down here that you see at the bottom of this slide. It's the second neighborhood meeting, and typically what we do after tonight, there's no limit. If we need to get back together, we can. But typically we have two neighborhood meetings, and then we move into the online ballot process. Depending on the outcome of that, we would move into construction. But the online ballot will look like this. When we get to a place where we've gotten as much consensus as I think we can get on a plan, we will post that online, and then we will send out these ballot cards to everyone who is eligible to vote. I'll go over that here in just a second, and that will give you a special QR code that takes you to the voting page. So you have not received that yet. We've not sent those out. We've not opened the ballot up to that. The process is open for 6 weeks. Once you get your card, we'll make it clear when that deadline is to receive the votes by, but that is a 6-week period. It's pretty simple. You log on and you vote yes or no. And then at the end of that, we tally those votes, and 2/3 of the people have to be in favor of it. So it's kind of a super majority that have to be in favor before we will move the project forward. The people who are eligible to vote will be anyone who owns property that abuts the project from one end to the other. So this would be any residential property from West End to Murphy if you abut Bowling Avenue. So people on a corner like of Central or Richland or any of the corner streets, even if your house faces the side street, if your property abuts Bowling, you would get that. I don't think we have any vacant properties, meaning like unimproved, no house on them. We do have a couple of churches. We typically do send these one ballot, one vote to each of those churches. However they make that decision to vote, it's up to them. If I've heard someone say that they might have multiple properties in this zone. If that's the case, any single landowner only gets one card to vote with. So I think those are the main things there. But that's how we do the voting process.
Well, I think at this point, we can either agree or disagree, but I think it's time to vote. And I think the main point here is to make sure that everybody is aware of the voting procedure and nobody misses out on this information that comes out on the voting schedule.
Well, my question is, what if you're for the radar signs, but maybe you're not for the calming cushion? I mean, it's all or nothing. Is that when the vote comes out?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mentioned that there's usually a plan B. If a ballot does fail, then we will come back with a kind of a lesser traffic calming that is more sign and pavement marking based. So, for instance, like the crosswalks is another good thing. Probably everyone's in favor of reinstalling the crosswalks. We're not going to like throw that out if the ballot fails.
But thank you so much, Jeff, for doing all this. I know this is a lot of work, and it shouldn't be so contentious. I'm sorry.
No, this is how it goes, and that's why we have this process. And so I'm glad that we do. It gives everyone a say.
And Jeff, a reminder too is that folks will receive mail notifications. So every owner will receive that mail card, as well as when Jeff gets the voting ballot and links, we will make sure that that Luann has it to post in the Engage app, and then we'll put it in newsletters, and we'll just make sure that the property owners do see that opportunity to vote, and link the time they have. And then Luann, you just put in the chat about getting the crosswalks repainted before Halloween. I just sent over a note. Jeff, I didn't copy you on this, but I sent it over earlier today, or it might have been Sunday when I was working on council email to put that request in. So to see if we can get those prior to our major Halloween foot traffic. So waiting to hear that, and it would likely not be the full crosswalk with a raised paint and some of the things that Jeff's talking about, but trying to get that the temporary paint up there prior to the Halloween foot traffic, and trying to see if we can get a response on that from the director's office. And I'll make sure to forward that to you so you can let the neighborhood know.
Yeah, and I don't think I mentioned this. When you get those cards, there is also a phone number. If you'd rather just call and vote by phone, you have the ability to do that as well.
Okay. And so it's going to be well documented when we're supposed to vote. I think it's not going to get missed, because there were a lot of people that struggled to get through to get on this Zoom meeting. You know,
I'll let you know, Beth.
Okay, you'll let me know.
And we've had mail issues where it's taken a long time just to get a postcard across town. So that's why we have extended this out to 6 weeks. That should be plenty of time to get the voting in. Absolutely.
Oh my.
Anything else? Any other questions on the plan or what you're looking at? Or
yeah, let's vote.
Are we in agreement that this is as close as we're going to get? We'll go ahead and just vote this plan.
Short of
Let's vote. Send out the cards.
Now, what happened to addressing any of the alternate measures? The rumble strips, the slight rumble strips around Murphy Road, the signage. I mean, our speed limit is 30 up here. Come up the hill on Murphy, see how fast you're going when you make that turn before you start measuring, because you're not getting up that speed. Come over that hill, you know what to expect if you've lived here any time at all. And it says 30, and you're saying rumble strips are down to 20. Move it to 25. Put the small rumble strips like around McCabe. You've got them there. You've got a heavy one and you've got a light one. I mean, try the least expensive alternative at first, maybe, and then maybe help somebody else.
Least drastic alternative.
Yeah, sometimes we'll get that question, can we start with something and kind of graduate up? And you know, I wish we could. It's just it becomes an issue of the amount of requests that we have for the service, that we can't take every neighborhood and try 2 or 3 different things to find something that fits the best. And I think we were still find that, you know, some people would say the rumble strips aren't doing anything. Some people would say they're working just fine. So we like to go with the tool that is consistent, that we know has a positive impact on speed. It may not be positive in other aspects, as we're hearing tonight. And so that's why we keep certain things in our toolbox. We know they're effective. We know they're a good use of funds. But anything less than that, we don't have a lot of trial and error capability.
And Jeff, if I can jump in on one quick thing regarding the speed limit change. I think Mr. Cohn, you lifted that up. I can send you a note to, even though speed limit reductions are handled separately from the traffic calming programs, we can take that to the Traffic and Parking Commission. That's where we recently got approved to have the signage with the no large trucks. And then just that signage will be placed. But usually I get requests for that, send it over to NDOT for staff review, and they'll tell us pretty quickly whether or not they'll include, or whether or not they'll make that recommendation or not. But that would be an alternate route to go, unless I'm incorrect on that, which please step in and correct me.
No, that's correct. That is a function of the Traffic and Parking Commission.
Are we still on here?
Anything else? Yes, sir.
If we're still on here, I got one quick question. Maybe I missed it, but what is the issue about controlling the size of the trucks that come down Bowling? Is that something that we're working on, or what is the size of the trucks, and how do you control that?
Control is usually with enforcement, and NDOT's Traffic and Parking is the one that does the enforcement. and as well as when we do have West Precinct patrol officers. But beyond that, we have just recently, I think it was a few weeks ago in September, I went to the Traffic and Parking Commission. We just got approved for the limitation for the weight. And so I can forward you that information, and we're just waiting for the signage there. But like with anything else, enforcement is
Yeah, right. And
typically the
enforcement's
trick.
the key.
So,
And
yeah.
how do you enforce it? But I think we'd all be happy to limit the big trucks coming down our streets.
Yeah, and the signs are up. They're just not being respected. There's still massive 18-wheelers going up and down Bowling.
Yeah. I just have Mary Hance mentioned about if we want the other signage instead of the speed bumps, we just correct me if I'm wrong, we're just going to vote no to the speed bumps or yes to the speed bumps, whatever you prefer. And then if that doesn't work, then we're going to have another meeting about, maybe less invasive ways to slow people down.
Yeah, we don't typically do another meeting to follow up with that. We just do a kind of a basic engineered plan for that. But yeah, it's usually a signage and a striping. It's nothing that you're going to have to drive over or, going to.
Right, but
It would just.
yeah, but some people are okay with that, but don't want the speed bumps. And so I just want to make sure that by saying, just how would we move from, let's say that the speed bumps don't pass. I'm not saying that they won't, but if they don't, then, but we decide we want to do something else, how do we go on to that next process to get that less invasive?
Yes, ma'am. There's nothing else you need to do. We automatically move those projects that fail a ballot into that Plan B process. And so we'll develop that and go ahead and install it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, very good. Well, we again appreciate a lot of good feedback here. That really helps us a lot, and I'm glad that you all can hear each other and your viewpoints. I think that's really important part of the process. So, as I am taking it, we'll go ahead and move this plan into a ballot, and then see where that goes, and and move forward with that accordingly. Again, this let me put some links here. This information, the meeting's been recorded. Some of the information that I presented here tonight will be on this Engage Nashville page, and then the standard Traffic Calming website is here. That's where this meeting will be posted, so forth. In the meantime, if you do want to contact me directly, I'm Jeff. I'm the one in green there at the bottom. Feel free to reach out to me or the NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov website, and I'll be glad to hear from you, answer any questions that we can. With that, we will say again, thank you very much. Enjoyed working with you on this, and feel free to be in touch anytime. Thank you and good night.
Night. Thank you.
She said she couldn't get it to work.